Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Hold on, I gotta fix my sound here. It is Tuesday. Monday was a bank holiday. Man, so we didn't really get a 3-day weekend, but we did get a 3-day weekend. And just now we are getting New York Fed. Holy crap, New York Fed manufacturing. We're looking for a reading of -5, and they got -43.7. So I'm just back to the data that we're getting looks deflationary to me. The data that we're getting looks deflationary to me. I don't see how you can sit here and be like, we're gonna get a soft landing, but then like everything looks like a dumpster fire. Wow. Cookies Mayam, good morning, welcome to the stream, and good morning Tactical, Tenacity, Jiwi, Dom, and Amir. You four are here like clockwork every day before stream starts. Good job. I was a little late today. Okay. The initial bull run off of that New York Fed manufacturing number has subsided a little bit. I don't know. That could be something that continues through, but we're gonna come and look at our charts here for a little bit first. Okay, so here's the treasuries. Overall, we've been down a little bit. So the skepticism about the whole soft landing narrative has been dampened, and I think primarily because we've had a lot of central banks coming out here saying like, for instance, some people in the ECB saying they don't think that there's going to be any rate cuts this year. So that's why treasuries are selling a little bit. But that New York Fed number, -43.7 versus an expected -5, that's certainly boosting them. And we'll see if they can push back up here. And again, remember, when we left on Friday, that was the PPI number really created a strong run, although it did pull back considerably. So basically we retraced that move. S&P 500 also kind of struggling a little bit, but nothing too big. Oil, we've had moves both ways. Things are still pretty hot in the Red Sea, but oil market's not really reacting to it too strongly. Gold and silver, well, we're still above 2,000. So you got to keep in mind where we've come from since October. But this morning, a little bit of downside and reversion here. It seems that, the interest rates rising back up to 4% again is hurting gold and silver. We got Kappa. Kappa continues to languish. Things in China still kind of, smart money is buying in, but the numbers still don't look too great. And then the dollar looking significantly higher, 102.8. Well, 80 cents higher than it was before. But there might be some resistance at that round number 103. And then we got Bitcoin, who declined after the ETFs went live. Some people speculating that this is because Grayscale was selling out some of their Bitcoin, but it's just kind of been going sideways since. So a lot of people disappointed in the Bitcoin ETFs. I'd still say if it is going to bring in, listen, I don't know how much, if any, money the ETFs are going to bring in. I would be betting on the long side, but I don't know how much could be done. I don't know. But if we do see that, it's probably going to meet over a longer time frame. So I don't think that what we've seen in the cryptocurrencies really is the end of the story. Okay, so they did continue a little bit higher there after, coming back and reverting a little bit. We are at 3.99. I'm not a huge fan of the spread that I'm seeing in the micro 10-year. I did the crazy thing and traded the news and made 4 ticks, but with 8 ticks against. Oh, yeah. So usually like 5 minutes after is a little bit safer. But, I'm watching the spread. So seeing the spread in the 10-year be 5 ticks makes me nervous, right? Makes me be like, maybe I shouldn't be touching it. So, interesting. The markets are reacting to me here. I put an order on, a bunch of people stacked behind me. Seems like there's a little bit of fight here, so I wouldn't mind 3995, but I think that they're probably going to go back and forth here a little bit and confuse us. Okay, so even though we are ticking up here now, I'm noticing that these bids in the micro 10 are not coming with it very well. So the 10-year and the 5-year ticked down and the 30-year didn't, and that seems to be the difference. But these orders pulled and the bids didn't stack up. They were willing to stack up to 3995, but not further. Perhaps if I throw my order over here at 4% and show them that the sell demand isn't there anymore. There was some orders that went off in here, though. It looked like there was some market touched orders there at 4. Some iceberging starting to show up here. The 30-year still not really coming down though. Just a reminder that volatility is usually high after holidays due to re-rising. Yeah, I would expect there to be some decent action today. I mean, we're already getting decent action because of the New York Fed manufacturing number, but That did cause the dollar to drop quite a bit too. Okay, that was probably the best limit order I've had filled in a long time. Doesn't mean the trade's gonna work out, but they did not go through me. They filled me, but they didn't go through me. In the world of finance, when there's a holiday in the US, it's a holiday in the entire world. There was nothing good to trade yesterday. Yeah, it was really sideways for the most part yesterday, wasn't it? Now, that said, the treasuries have been, like, so if we come back over to like on a daily basis, right? We were getting extremely strong trending behavior here in the treasuries, like really, really strong momentum coming through. We have since mean reverted. We reverted down, up, down a little bit. They were starting to price like, oh, we're going to go down, and then we got that news. So you don't necessarily get like big help from the momentum traders until we're breaking out again. So we got to be a little bit careful here in the treasuries, because we're not going to get as much help, I don't think, as we had been. We could still get like a $50, 5 basis point move here potentially, but I don't think that I should be looking for like these crazy moves like we were seeing a few weeks ago. What is the orange price on the volume profile? That is the VWAP. He deleted it because oh no, it's somebody else just talked. We have several U.S. Treasury settlements today. What are you talking about? We do have some bill auctions today. We do have Goldman Sachs earnings call today. You seeing sell signs now? I'd say it's moderating at the moment, for sure. Which is kind of what I was expecting, but I got a good enough spot that I'm able to hang on in here. Okay, there's the ZB stepping up a little bit. That might help us. Guess not. We are seeing steepening on this move. So the steepening does suggest up. But How much? We don't know. Maybe it's already over. I am seeing on the cumulative delta the, like the changes flattening out essentially. Okay, so now they're finally they're pressuring me a little bit. I'm wondering. Oh, I got 6 favorable ticks at one point. Keeping an eye on it here to see. We had a little bit of a drop. We'll see how they react to it. Okay, so now they're hitting into the 06. There is an iceberg there. $2,000 to clear it, and looks like I'm done. Market profile and volume profile, what's the difference between them? They appear to be the same except some small details. Okay, so the way that you calculate the market profile is time at price, essentially. So like normally you have the x-axis is time, the y-axis is price, right? And the y-axis is what price it was at that time, right? Market profile is the y-axis is how much time at that price, right? So it's not it was that price at that time, but how much time has it spent at that price. It's a histogram of how much time has been spent at that price. Okay, that is market profile. I'm glad I got out of that. Jeez. It would be a little bit further down. Yeah. It was good that I was able to get out of that with -10. Probably could have done -5, but I wasn't fast enough. But I'm not liking the way this is going. And sometimes I would be like trying again and again and again to make it work right. But this one, I think that the situation is past. It didn't work. I should probably just sit on my hands now. Okay, but anyways, volume profile is how much volume at that price. Right? So that's the difference between them. Now, what happened was, if you pull up a market profile and a volume profile, the amount of volume that happens there and the amount of time that has been spent there tend to be pretty similar. And that is, I think, largely because of the whole square root law behavior, right? So it will stay at a price for a really long time and seem like it's not going anywhere. But because it spends so much time there, it actually ends up trading more in terms of price than anywhere else, right? So now the reason why these people are interested in volume profile and market profile is because if the market was just random, then you would expect the amount of volume to trade to also be random. So why does it tend to create a Gaussian distribution That's kind of weird. Well, it's because of the square root law. But they didn't know that at the time. And basically what happened is after that, they said, okay, so here's this chart. And then they started to apply technical analysis to the chart. 5K at 07. So there was a big iceberg on the bid. They just cleared it. Nothing's really happening now. Want to see if there's another one at 06 half or if they slip through. Looks like they're just kind of continuing trade on normally now. 700 at 06 half. 1,000 makes it go bid again. 444 to bid 07. Some signs of iceberging again at 07. Shoot. That kind of looks like that was just like a move that was just enough to scare me out, and they're coming right back up to where I had gotten in at. They are kind of, I should note that this is kind of like the dividing line between buyers and sellers between 06 and 08. So kind of seems like when they got to the buyer's cost basis at 08, it slowed down a little bit. You gotta be careful with this though, because even though it came back very, very strongly, there wasn't actually positive cumulative delta change with it. Want to dive into treasuries, but are they more capital intensive? No micros. I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to get at, but in terms of trading futures, it's generally less risk to trade ZN than it is to trade any of like the equity indexes, for instance. A $500 move in ZN is a really big move. Okay, so they're fighting at 07 half again, and there does appear to be iceberging at 07 again. They do take it offer. Only briefly. It's fighting. Trying to keep his head above water, I feel like. Nah, I think somebody is buying there, but I don't think he necessarily cares that it goes up or down. Dang. This is, you know what? I don't think today is my day, guys, because that went 10 ticks against me so fast. Why is it doing that? Probably because of the dollar, huh? It's kind of curious to me that those two trades have gone that way too, because the fills entries were pretty okay. And usually when I get a really good entry, those ones just go for me, but this one has not. Okay, you're getting iceberg at 0.5 half again, so it is back to the seller's line. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it fight between the buyer and seller's line in the treasury this much. But that means you're probably going to continue to see a lot of absorption on the bid. Yeah, well, I want to give it 5 more minutes, but I don't want to take on more risk. Kind of my problem. I'm kind of thinking that this position that I'm in right now was an unforced error, because I did not actually see like ZN starting to have auto correlated order flow long. I got in because it came back to that spot, and it kind of pissed me off, I think. So I think that might have been like a little bit of a tilt trade. Okay, I'm slowed down a little bit here. Let's zoom in on ES over here too, by the way. See, that time ZB got hammered too is the problem. I think the other thing here is that New York Fed manufacturing number that we got was very, very negative, and I thought would have been a really big boom to the doves. But it doesn't seem that the doves are in control today. It seems that the hawks are being more adamant. Well, that was interesting. So I'm getting some counterflow at 0.4 half now as well. When that went offer in the micro 10, somebody hit it almost right away. I am seeing some shuffling around though, so that might have been enough to shift the bots. So I'm hearing something on the news squawk about ECB bond settlement. Maybe that's what Lucas was trying to talk about earlier. Well, it's definitely paused / stabilized here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to reverse. My news squawk just pointing out to me that the federal funds rate is basically unchanged now on the day. So we're basically back to the prices that we were at before the manufacturing news. There is another big iceberg at 04, and they're trying to push it up at 04.5, but I'm not getting a strong bid at 04.5 when it ticks up. The dollar may be finding some resistance there, though. Wow, okay. Okay, so now I'm getting information about Eurobonds and BEPP and so forth. So I do wonder if maybe they were moving down because of that. Well, it fell back down there almost as easily, and now they're pushing the other side. Fetch. Well, boys, I think it's time for me to admit that I haven't the faintest idea what's going on at this current time. Okay, so it looks like they might recover 04, but you're getting pretty wild fluctuations in the dollar. Are they coming from the euro? I'm not sure they are. It seems the Japanese yen is more the one moving around. Okay. I don't think I see huge selling today. It was an average size sell that brought us back down here. I think what happened to me here was I was taking a trade off of one piece of information, and there was another piece of information that I didn't have that, at least in the short term, was more predictive of what was going on. Now, I don't know if that event has passed or not. They're still struggling here, aren't they? Gold. Now, the interesting thing is that gold is not following the bonds the same. The gold is actually, only had a small pullback and is heading back up at the moment. So I think that kind of supports the theory that because of these bond settlements and other things that we're seeing some odd flow in the treasuries at the moment. Still seeing a lot of strong icebergs on the bid, though. I'm not seeing that same level of iceberging on the offer. So it's not like the buyers aren't there. They're just being very, very passive. They're just being very positive and buying at whatever price they're getting, and seems that the dollar is the thing that's driving the movement the most at the moment. And the dollar is just kind of on the precipice of being able to revert and start heading back down again. But it's just not quite happening. Yeah, not a very strong bid at 03. Okay, liquidity hole at 03 probably. We're awfully close to 112 even. That's another risk I got to keep in mind here. So I'm seeing both sides kind of pull their off of that last little flurry of activity. See the dollar there, so close to turning around, but Nope. Do you see all of those orders at 02 half pull? It's so quickly. I'm surprised that it's still traded 1,000 actually. So I'm definitely getting some liquidity hole like behavior in here. You see how easily they're able to go across 03, for instance. The dollar did drop there a little bit. Note though, even though the dollar is dropping now, it didn't really get a super... I mean, there was a little bit, but not a super strong bid in the treasury. So maybe the dollar is following the treasury and not the other way around. I'm seeing the Japanese yen starting to move up, seeing gold starting to move up, but the treasuries are not cooperating. Not yet, at least. Okay. I am seeing a slight increase in level 2 activity and at times the level 2 changing dramatically, but I can't tell what it's correlated to. The 30-year is not digging itself out yet. The 10-year is kind of like on the edge of of, okay, maybe we're going to start trending up again. But the 30 here is just sitting there, right? It hasn't really moved off of its 25. Okay, well, I got one order filled there. It makes me feel a little bit better. This fight here is really interesting to me because there is a lot going on here. It seems incredibly disorganized to me, but there is a lot going on here. I think that there must be a lot of large players taking all sorts of positions every which way in multiple different markets because, like, even if you look at the volume profile here, right? So again, the reason why people are interested in volume profiles is because at Gaussian distribution. Is that really what you're seeing right now? Well, there was a lot at 03. But otherwise, the volume profile is very disorganized. Or are you taking 100 trades in 2024? That seems like too many to me. Okay, so it does seem that they have recovered the 04 half where we saw that initial large iceberg. So that's encouraging. Doesn't look like any of this stuff's going to get filled. I'll leave that one because I've got such a good position in the queue. Take one off at the open. You dabbled in Europe? No, I've never gotten the data for the European instruments, unfortunately. It's a lot more. Perhaps someday I could justify spending a lot of money on data and market information, but I don't think that right now is the time. Kind of makes me think about YouTube because I go like, well, okay, I don't think that I would trade that, but I might be able to justify doing it for the stream's sake. But then I want to pay for it from what we make off of the advertising. But at the current time, YouTube is kind of in a recession. Okay, like the CPMs and everything on YouTube are down across the board. There's definitely something going on with YouTube and social media in general. Like, the content on YouTube is not as good. A lot of really big creators are quitting. And I think a large part of it is that their earnings probably have dropped considerably since 2021. And they're just kind of like, well, or, you know, when they were really making so much and it was just hand over fist, then it was worth it. But now it's, you know, I'm already rich. I don't have to go through all of that effort. Why even bother? Right? Something's definitely changing in YouTube, and it probably is a hint to what might be going on in the broader economy, but maybe not. Well, probably is indicative of what's going on in the broader economy, but that might be short-lived, I guess is what I should say. Okay, they've traded in that area quite a bit still. I'm seeing quite furious action, although ZB is still kind of having a hard time finding a strong bid there. Yeah. See, if I got a fill at 03.5, I could probably try and take it off at 04.5 because that whole range there, they've been trading back and forth across very easily. So it seems that, like, even though we reverted back up, that there's still some liquidity hole type behavior. Like, the treasuries are being very illiquid here. Okay, now that's interesting. There is an iceberg on the offer. That's the first large offer iceberg I think I've seen. And it does look like they kind of got through it, but only briefly, and then they closed back in on it. YouTube here is so slow the last several days. Well, my understanding is that they have been, if you have ad blockers on, they have been like throttling you. Like they've been making the website slower if you have ad blockers. Hearing an announcement about natural gas. Natural gas is down 11% on the day, by the way. Well, I'm seeing a little bit of net buying. There was icebergs on both sides of that at 04. I'm kind of wondering if because of that iceberg at 04.5, if I should bring my offer down now if I get filled at 03.5. I think I will. I'll just take the one tick. Okay. Yeah, see, that time I got filled on the offer really, really quickly, but they didn't trade 04.5, not yet at least. I'm going to get trade 03.5 again before I get 04.5 on. But the liquidity hole here is helping me take ticks, right? Probably, you know, if it breaks out, I'll lose more than I would make. But, you know, you can make ticks. There's some skewed risk reward with it that you got to keep in mind. But it does look like this is an area where you can kind of scalp a little bit. Yep, that's my name, AO, Speculator Seth. Probably wasn't the best name to pick. People have a hard time spelling and you found out what well, it should only be about 3 seconds. Depending on you and your connection on your side. It needed to be weird. Okay. Oh, 3.5 doing it. So you can you see it very clearly in this situation? Like they won't put up more than 300 contracts on either side there. You see that? They're also able to trade really easily through the prices just above that. And we've done that several times. So the market makers are not putting up as much liquidity. You're right about YouTube. I just turned off my ad blocker and it started to work normally. Yeah. Oh, hey, I got another fill. Da, 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 da. Well, they're starting to do something where it seems like maybe the bids are a little bit more firm and my chances of getting hit at 0.3 again seem diminished. They had a little bit of a false breakout to the downside there, I think. The ZB came down to the lows, but ZN didn't. And ZN is starting to see some very slow net buying. So we're good with your I think the way that they're doing it is probably if your ad blocker works, it's probably gonna do that. I think what they're doing is they're saying, okay, here's an IP address that did a request. They should have been sent an ad. I don't see them viewing the ad on the other side. Ergo, I'm gonna throttle all requests from that IP now. That's what I think they're doing. Or that's what it sounds like they're doing from what everybody's been saying. Shouldn't even say I think. I'm kind of making a guess, right? A lot of people are upset about it, though. I tell you what. So it's still showing me this liquidity hole type behavior where the offers just completely pull between 0.3 and I would even say 0.5 to some extent, but they are not actually throttling it at 0.5. So here is a spot where if you were able to get a good bid at 0.4, you can start doing things like just slam into the 0.5s or pull the 0.5s in the hopes that a breakout there would start triggering stops and so forth. But you can see that when we get to 0.5, you're not actually seeing a lot of market orders going through it yet. Well, a little bit of iceberg at 0.4 might help, which we just saw, 1,600 contracts. Why did I take the long? I don't even remember anymore. I think I took the long because I think that the New York manufacturing number was really, really weak and really strongly suggests that we are straight up starting to get some deflationary forces in the markets now. I think that was the big thing, and a little bit mean reversion. I kind of feel that maybe the hawkishness, they ignored it all the past month, so why is it all of a sudden overnight we're paying attention to what the central bankers are saying now? That kind of doesn't make sense to me. So I think that was kind of the overarching idea that I had, but you can clearly see that this has been not a winner for me. I'm well past tilts. I'm holding on because I do think I have a good chance of being able to scratch this at some point. But it's a very, very frustrating. It feels like that when I've got the right trade, that it takes forever to get there. And when I've got it wrong, it goes against me so quickly, And I'm finding that incredibly frustrating because this is now the fourth or fifth day in a row where I've had problems like this. So I think that I'm really out of line with holy shit. Okay. I'm just gonna. What was that? I am not seeing any news. The dollar just dropped hard there. So I'm going to guess, okay? I have absolutely no news or no information right now, but I'm going to guess that there was another Middle East Red Sea kind of headline. That would be the sort of thing that doesn't percolate to everybody at the same time. That's why I'm guessing that. Wow. Yeah, Jiwi says some Red Sea accent. Well, probably further Houthi attacks. I think it may actually be more than that, because one of the headlines I saw last night that didn't really seem to get a whole lot of press was that there was an attack on the U.S. consulate in Iraq, and Iran was taking credit for the attack, essentially. And I was like, well, isn't that like an act of war? Like, how is that not like, how is everybody not freaking out about that? It could be. So in this situation, what do we know? There's one thing that we know. And the situation being, we just had a really strong move up. We don't know what it was, and we aren't 100% sure if there is informational content in the market or not. When that happens, the volatility tends to persist longer. So there was a little bit of a pullback. They're ramping it up again. But who knows? Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe somebody was really, really hard selling it, trying to screw me over or something, and decided to puke or something. Maybe they finally saw the error of their ways, where they were like, you know what? Risking hundreds of thousands of dollars so that Seth loses $10 isn't really worth it. Maybe we should take this position off. Yeah, I think so. So for the uninitiated, I don't actually think that like the market is specifically trying to trade against me. Maybe I have a position that's the same as some other large player, and they are trying to squeeze that other large player or something like that. But if I take the position, or in my mind that the market is trying to trade against me, I'm going to be a lot more careful about what I trade, right? I'm not going to take some random trade in the middle of nowhere where like what happens is up to chance, right? I'm going to take a trade in a situation where you'd almost have to be stupid to trade against me. So that's why I talk like that a lot. The only thing I see on my news squawk in the last few minutes was Putin gathers re-election signatures in Russian-held Ukraine. Ron DeSantis says Nikki Haley is afraid to debate because she doesn't want to answer the tough questions, such as how she got rich off. Okay, is she like trying to get out of the next debate that would basically be DeSantis versus her? Oh, no, wait. Nikki Haley, what does she say? We've had 5 great debates in this campaign. Unfortunately, Donald Trump has ducked out of all of them. He has nowhere left to hide the next debate. I will either be with Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Oh, okay. That was an hour ago. What a pussy. You know what? This we haven't talked about Iowa caucuses yet, have we? You want to talk about the Iowa caucuses? So last night was the Iowa caucuses. Donald Trump was widely expected to win. It's kind of weird because when you read the tweets and the Twitter, apparently not everybody had read the polls, because there was a couple of people that still thought that, you know, these guys would that Donald Trump would underperform there or something like that, but it didn't happen. I think a large part of that was turnout was very, very low because there was a huge storm in Iowa. So I suspect a little bit that the turnout being low may have helped Donald Trump because his supporters are just really, really energized right now. So I think that the turnout kind of helped Trump. Now, the more interesting thing, not that it matters to anything, at least as far as I can tell, it might not matter to anything at this point, but it's still the more interesting battle to me is Nikki Haley versus Ron DeSantis. And Nikki Haley seemed to outperform. She did not beat Ron DeSantis. Ron was still second, but she did better than I thought she would. Probably the majority of those votes coming in for Nikki are Democrats that are bored and trying to spoil the party, you know? You can kind of see why that sort of thing doesn't work. It's usually not enough to move the needle, but they did outperform, so I guess maybe there was some use to it. At this point, I really don't like Nikki Haley. So when after the first debate, I thought, seems to me like Nikki Haley will do better than people are expecting at this moment. And so I went and, okay, now they're really going. Market on open, imbalance, 341 million sell side. I'm getting a story about a Supreme Court case involving Apple. Still don't know what's driving this, but we got another pretty strong push. I'm really surprised that only takes me to 4%, because weren't we, like last time that we were here, weren't we down at like 995? So I'm a little bit perturbed by that. Also, I did not enter this position at when did I enter this position? Have I been in it that long? 26 minutes, 7:05. What the fuck is going on? I'm really confused. Oh, this one. That's the wrong one. 650. Okay. So me being break even, I should be break even at least, but I'm not. Interesting. And that spike went up and then came back. Yeah, Apple rejected by Supreme Court on Epic App Store suit. Apple must change App Store rules that bar developer links. I don't think that's why the treasury market was moving, but okay. Okay, so anyways, when this kind of all started, I went and I signed up to get the newsletters and stuff from Nikki Haley just to kind of keep track of what was going on. Because I thought, oh, it seems like she will do better than I thought. And the more time goes on, the more I dislike her. I don't think that what I'm seeing is the real Nikki Haley. It really feels to me like she is I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And my coalition is essentially the anti-Trump coalition. And that's why she's doing things like she's being she's very much avoiding stepping into the transgender debate and some of those culture war sort of things, and is giving really squishy answers on those things compared to, say, Ron DeSantis, because she knows that a lot of her support is coming from Democrats. And I really don't like that. That's, that was kind of the Mitt Romney thing, is I'll be whatever you want me to be sort of a thing, is just really, really rubs me the wrong way. And she's been such a warmonger. Like, oh my gosh. She has said some really crazy things in the debate. I really don't think that she would be a good president, and she doesn't stand any chance of beating Donald Trump for the nomination, of course. But kind of when you look at it, like Donald Trump got 51%. If the field had all consolidated, you can kind of see where if the field consolidated, there is a chance, however remote, that could be enough to actually beat Donald Trump for the nomination. Okay. It's not a good reflection on Donald Trump. It kind of suggests that he would have a very difficult time winning in a general election. And probably the only reason why he would stand any chance is because Joe Biden is such a terrible candidate, right? Not that I'm trying to like bash on Donald Trump. I'm just trying to state the reality, right? So now Nikki Haley is saying we won't do another debate. That is very, very disappointing. And it seems to me that the ultimate result from that would just be it prevents Ron DeSantis from being able to gain enough momentum to be able to actually take on Donald Trump. At this point, she's probably thinking like, maybe I can do it. Maybe I'll catch some momentum from these other states and I can become the challenger and then beat him. I really don't think that it'll turn out that way though. But that's and this is often the dynamic that you see at this point of the race, is it's usually like there's the leader guy, the guy that's ahead, and then there's these challengers, and their support gets split between the challengers, and that spoils it and prevents them from being able to take on the big guy. And sometimes you will see a conservative drop out at that point because they realize this, right? Or like Nikki Haley would drop out because she realizes that she's in the way of preventing Donald Trump from getting the nomination, that it would be better chance of them consolidating behind Ron DeSantis, but that's not happening. She thinks that it's her. Okay, so apparently this news with Apple is hurting Apple. The indexes seem to be treading water pretty okay. The treasuries are still kind of trading around in this area. What is a rhino? Okay, a rhino is a Republican in name only. I would not call her a Republican in name only. She's a neoconservative is what she is. So a neoconservative is essentially a Republican that is extremely hawkish, and their war hawkishness basically overrides everything else about them. So they might think that they have a conservative policy on, fiscal policy or this, that, and the other. But the reality of the military-industrial complex is that you can't accomplish anything. You can't do anything because there will always be some conflict somewhere that they can dump the money into. And this is basically the neoconservative. And the kind of like the father of neoconservatism is Dick Cheney, right? And Dick Cheney kind of pushed George Bush towards like a neoconservative bent, and then because of the Iraq War and everything, I think it's really funny. Something that I think people get wrong if you're not like super engrossed in the American politics is thinking that one party is pro-war and another party is anti-war, and the general thinking of it is the Democrat Party is anti-war and the Republican Party is pro-war. But the only reason that people think that is because the Republican Party was pro-war during the whole Afghanistan-Iraq era. and the Democrats wanted to get out. The reality is actually it's that the establishment in both parties tend to be pro-war, and the outsiders, the base, tends to be anti-war in both parties. And but if your party starts a war while they're in power, then everybody in the party tends to support it. And that's how you get things like the Vietnam War was basically started by Democrats, and most of it was prosecuted by Democrats, and then it was ended by, well, not ended, but they really drew a lot down during Nixon's time. And then was actually a lot like Afghanistan. They drew down a lot during Donald Trump's time, but then it was Joe Biden and Jimmy Carter that actually pulled out and took the blame for it, right? Right. So Nikki Haley is the establishment, and they are pro-war. But with her at the debates, she basically like takes it to such an extreme, like almost to a caricature of herself, because she's trying to get that neoconservative faction within the Republican Party to back her, because there's a lot of money and power there. Or maybe not even to get them to back her, but to get them to say, hey, maybe she can actually pull it off. Man. Well, I got really lucky there. I could have scratched this at one point. I'm a little dismayed that it didn't continue through. But I was also a little dismayed at the prices that it was giving me after all of that, right? But it does look like they, at the very least, retraced that move up. I think that I guess I shouldn't be surprised, just because there was going to be a big liquidity hole all the way back there, right? Because it came back on no volume. It went up. Yeah, there's been no volume since that initial like spike, and we still don't know what caused it either. It may have been endogenous. Maybe it was just endogenous. I don't know, guys. It's kind of weird. Oh. Now that the market is open, the Bitcoin ETFs are selling once again. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the amount of selling through the ETFs is going to outweigh the amount of new money that comes in from buying on the ETFs. I mean, that was kind of what happened when the futures went live. Biden has announced a plan to erase student loan debts under 12K per Fox. He's just been doing... You know what's really wild to me on the student loan debt thing is, like, everybody was upset when he was forgiving the student loan debt, and it got smacked down by a court case and everything, and so now he's just kind of done the same thing through 1,000 cuts instead. And nobody's paying attention and cares about it anymore. Okay, so I am getting like a lot of level 2 activity and a little bit of back and forth at 06 now. Seller's cost basis. I still think I should be break even. I think that when I got in, I got a really terrible price, and the spread working against me maybe a little bit, so this trade just looks really awful. The way stuff is with the news, pretty sure we could cancel the election and slide into the next 4 years with Biden still being president as long as no one mentions it. It really is. It really has turned into like nobody likes Biden, but you see no edge. Yeah, I really should have taken this off a long time ago, and I don't know what to do about it, guys. I'm just like incredibly frustrated today. Yeah, no, this was something that we kind of predicted after Biden won, right? Was that it will go back to people not really paying attention to political news. So people don't like Biden, but I think that that's largely like personality wise, and particularly because they believe that he's not up to the job. He's too old. I think that that's the biggest factor behind his favorability rating. But you know, people have kind of, I feel people have kind of forgotten about this student debt thing, because I don't see people on social media talking about it the way that I did. It used to be like a big deal. And it is inflationary what they're doing. It is inflationary, and it increases the cost of education. I've started saving up really hard. Like, basically my approach is I think I'm going to get a lot of money from my parents. So all of the money that I save up right now, I need to save for my kids' college, basically. And I don't know if it's going to be enough, because what they're doing is not going to make school cheaper. Because the right online is too busy eating its own tail over a bunch of terrible. I don't know if they're really all that into it. I kind of feel like that everybody has been a little bit disconnected from the primaries as well. It's just that's like the only thing really going on the Republican side. Yeah, I don't know. Like the issue is, what are you gonna do about it, right? I think the reality is that he has a back door through past legislation to basically do whatever he wants, even if that wasn't the intention. And the only way that you would be able to stop it is if you were Congress, and you're not. So he's going to be able to just give a big constituency of his money, and everybody else will have to pay for it. And then that kind of sets the precedent, right? Like with like the stimulus, I tell you what, the way that this went with the stimulus was, okay, we needed stimulus. Oh, that worked really well. Everybody liked that. Let's do more and more stimulus. And so Donald Trump, he took the psychopath. Like, you got to understand that these people might not be psychopaths, but in order to be relevant in politics, sometimes they have to behave like a psychopath. And that the psychopathic thing tends to be the thing that happens, is like, do what is best for me at this time for my political fortunes, and doesn't matter what happens in the future because of it. So Donald Trump kind of took that tack, and then you saw what happened is immediately Joe Biden gets in and he's like, oh, well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a stimulus, but just get all of our, favorite items in there as a gift to our constituents. And yeah, there'll be inflation, but we'll be able to avoid the blame somehow. Right? So now, we can forgive student loans? Okay. What are some constituents on the Republican side that we can give some money to try and get them to, turn out for us better? Because once that starts, man, it's just all downhill from there, right? I'm still looking at this like, how did we get to 10 and I was still only break even? Because that is 10 ticks. I am the difference here between this instrument and this instrument is really strongly working against me. Yeah, nothing is more dangerous than communism. It's a little disconcerting once you realize that the reason that they're doing it is for the political power and not because of the policy. Like all this stuff about universal basic income, they want it now. They want to implement universal basic income, and they're doing everything they can to try and get it implemented, right? It's not a problem yet. It's not. They're saying that we're going to need it in the future. Okay, so when that happens in the future, which won't happen, by the way, but then maybe we can talk about implementing it, right? But they want it now, even though it's not a problem. Probably what happens in the future is that automation creates so much value that things will just become stupid cheap. Things that you spend thousands of dollars for now will just be done for free by ChatGPT, right? And if they can get to the point where they can even have robots that say build houses, then houses get really cheap, right? And a lot of jobs will go away, and there might not be as much work, but you won't need as much work because everything will be so dang cheap. That's probably what's going to happen. That's what always happens. I guarantee you, way back 6,000 years ago, that there was somebody complaining about the invention of the wheel, saying, well, you know, how are we going to live now if this wheel thing can do the work of 10 men? Guarantee you that happened. Iceberg on the offer at 04. They cleared it pretty convincingly, though. The dollar all over the place this morning. It looks like so this was one we were like, we need the dollar to go down, and now the dollar is rising, and it seems that the dollar rising is kind of part of what's hurting this, continuing to hurt this trade. So this is kind of curious because I think that one of the major factors behind the S&P 500 selling is the Apple news, economic weakness, flight to safety bid in the dollar. Okay, but then why aren't we getting the flight to safety bid in the treasuries? And what was with those two crazy spikes? So things not quite lining up this morning. Well, now some aggressive order flow long again. Seems like when it does go long, like those market orders are incredibly aggressive. Well, the dollar is flipping down really hard is probably part of that. Is it from the euro? Yes, it is. It's from the euro. So I think what must be going on here is that the Europeans have positions on from the overnight when, you know, the big news was some of the ECB guys pushing back pretty hawkishly. And it seems that the Europeans are heeding their central bankers more than everybody is heeding the Federal Reserve. And now that they've got a position on there, they don't want it to lose it. And that maybe that's why it's fighting the way that it has been. So if that's the case, going into the, you know, an hour from now, going into the European close, which happens at 11:30 Eastern time, essentially, you might see some movement and change in the tape after that. In the meantime, my position is still struggling here because the CB is we're actually kind of still steepening even though we're down. So it's ZB is killing me. Just accept the communist loophole and grow old and die in. Yeah. I think that the situation changes very quickly, right? The moment it sure does feel like everything's going to go a certain way, though, doesn't it? First we took over the NBA, now the markets as well. Well, it's just a thing that I've noticed a lot is that sometimes when I think that I should be seeing a certain flow and a certain set of correlations, and it's not happening and it doesn't make sense, it shifts after the European close. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to be beaten to death in it. Well, what? I mean, the long and short of it is this: Obama was in power for a long time, and while everybody views him as a moderate, he had a lot of policies that were particularly on the administrative side to push the country in a certain direction, and it was basically you would have to reverse that immediately, or it was just going to completely change the direction of the country. And Donald Trump was ineffective in his presidency because of all the crazy stuff that happened then. And so Joe Biden was just able to come in and start completing Obama's work. And so now you've got like insane amounts of illegal immigration coming in. They're forgiving student loans, all of these other things. Maybe too late to fix it. Of course, things always change very fast in American politics. But right now, it certainly looks like it's heading in a certain direction and might be too late to stop it. Well, I don't even think that it's Cloward pivoting the whole country. I think that it's really what's going on is you implement all of these agency level decisions. You put people in the agencies that are Democrat loyalists, and then when you have a Republican in office, they, people, the really, really smart, really, the guys that are really paying attention on the conservative side were warning us about this through the whole Obama presidency. Guys, they're taking everybody that was a Republican and pushing them out of the agencies and replacing them with loyalists. That was the deep state. And it absolutely was a thing. As soon as Donald Trump got in, then you had all of these people within the federal agencies working against him. And you think, oh, that's just because Donald Trump is a dictator and all of it. It's going to happen to any Republican that gets elected in the future. They're going to do that to him. They're going to undermine the president through agency policy. Probably the only thing going on right now that is like a glimmer of hope is that the Supreme Court is likely to reverse this president that gave the administrative state so much control so that these agencies can only do what was intended by Congress. That's the only glimmer of hope. Yeah, overload all systems to necessitate their... Well, no. Oh, you're talking something different. I didn't think that's what you were going to say. I thought you were saying, oh, put your own loyalists in. Kick everybody out and put your own loyalists in. Well, the problem with that is that Republicans don't have enough people to put in. See, this is the problem with being the anti-government party, is that none of your constituents want to enter into public service. So when you need people to do policy and when you need people in these government agencies to keep things fair, you don't have anybody good to put in there. Well, I can't tell you how many times it's been, this is going to help Democrats and Republican will never be able to win another election. And then you get crazy things that happen, like Donald Trump wins, right? Politics are just really unpredictable. Don't replace people, but you do need certain government agencies. Okay. This is the other problem, is that the Republican Party has been taken over by libertarians, and libertarians, no offense to anybody that's a libertarian, actually maybe offense is intended to anybody that is a libertarian. Libertarians and their ideas are stupid. Okay, the libertarian ideology has been disproven through example countless times. Basically, any time that they get a little bit of power, it's a complete disaster. And the Ron Paul movement kind of turned into, let's make the Republican Party a libertarian party. And I think it's been really bad for the party. Like, we want government to do less, but the government still needs to be there. And the government that's there needs to be, needs to have a lot of safeguards in place to preserve our freedoms. And also needs to be structured in a way that these people can actually make good decisions. But instead, we say, oh, well, we just need to get rid of it. Okay, so then you're never going to have, because you're never going to get rid of the state. And you're never going to have a state that works effectively because the Republicans don't care to try and make it work effectively. Then you're basically just handing victory to Democrats, right? Because anytime that they get in power, they're going to push things more their way and do all of their policies. And then when it's your way, you're just going to step and not do anything, right? Guaranteeing yourself a loss. Well, this trend back up here seems awfully strong. I'm not actually seeing the volume behind it. I do still see things tilted to, like a cumulative delta is coming in long, especially in the 5-year. I don't know. I'm just complaining at this point, aren't I? I mean, first of all, like what can we gauge? So here's how I think things are most likely to happen. Right, with the acknowledgement that our ability to predict this isn't very good, and there almost always surprises us simply because some other factor will jump up that ends up mattering more than all these other things that we can see and extrapolate right now. Right, basically, we're using mean reversion, and there's going to be surprises, right? So under current dynamics, probably Donald Trump wins the nomination. Okay, seems to me that there's a lot of people that feel that the election was stolen from Donald Trump, that he needs a second term, and ergo, the only way that justice can be served is if we put Donald Trump back in the presidency. That seems to be the narrative that is like speaking to people, and that is giving Donald Trump so much more support than a lot of people thought, right? So you get Donald Trump in there. Probably won't have enough Republican support to do anything too important. And his whole focus, while he's in office, probably will be trying to reverse the damage that Joe Biden has done to our immigration system. So maybe if they're lucky and there's enough Republican support, we actually get a bill that actually protects the border. That is a possibility. But then there's all of these people that came in under Joe Biden's presidency, and what do you do with them? Deport them? Okay. Go deport them and see what happens, right? It'll play so badly in the media. They'll treat it like it's, you know, sending people back to that are in the United States illegally and sending them back to their country of origin. They're going to treat it like it is a genocide, is what will happen. And it'll be very, very unpopular. Can almost guarantee that's how it will play out. So the demographics of the United States have probably been permanently changed. Probably. Now, Hispanic voters aren't always going to vote Democrat, probably. But might be a generation or two before we see that kind of change. Right? That's kind of what I think is going to happen. And then meanwhile, pretty much anything else that Donald Trump tries to do during his presidency, I expect will be ineffective. Ben Carson for vice president. Can you imagine him debating Kamala? So I wonder, is that who you think is most likely? Is that your pick? You know, when this all started, I kind of thought, well, he'll pick the number 2, which would probably be Ron DeSantis. But Trump and DeSantis have, you know, it's been kind of nasty. It's been kind of nasty. I don't know how serious that is. Like, I expect Donald Trump to be negative and against anybody that's running against him. And then after they're done with them, then they can kind of be buddy-buddy. But it's something kind of suggests to me that disdain there is actually genuine. So maybe he can't pick Ron DeSantis. It's certainly not going to be Nikki Haley. There's a lot of people that were like, oh, it would be Nikki Haley. No way. Especially after the whole Pence thing. Yeah, there's no way he's going to pick Nikki Haley, right? He's going to pick a Trump loyalist, probably somebody that's not running right now. If it's not Ron DeSantis. Some people think that it should be Vivek Ramaswamy. And that just shows you how gullible the Republican electorate is. Pence, there's no way that Pence would do it again. No way. That bridge has been burned. Okay, so the treasuries have come up here. The dollar is still looking strong. So now we are starting to get what looks like a flight to safety bid. Equities down, dollar treasuries up. And maybe gold up. But gold is kind of upside. It's been kind of limited today. Now, off of all of this, Vivek did drop out last night, so good riddance. I don't like him. Can you tell I don't like him? I think he's a charlatan. He's a charlatan, and all of his money was basically created by defrauding investors. It pisses me off. That's the ADHD overactive sense of justice. That's that going in. Yeah, I see a guy, he's become a millionaire from basically creating a fraudulent company and fooling everybody into investing in it. That pisses me off to no end. That's basically Vivek. And here's the other thing that pisses me off about Vivek, okay? I would make a better president than Vivek would. He's been in a company, but it was a grift, okay? He doesn't really have executive experience. He's not good at being an executive. So that's the one thing that he would maybe have on me that basically it's not a thing. he's only been paying attention to politics for like 2 years. So right, like his story is that when Trump was president, there was some, I forget the specific thing that happened, but there was something that happened while Trump was president that kind of like red pilled Vivek. Okay, so you've been watching and paying attention to politics and been a conservative now for like 2 years, and you're qualified to be president. And meanwhile, there's these people that have been watching politics their whole lives and been doing their best to try and understand the policy and how things tend to go and everything. And you're more qualified than them. It's just so ridiculous to me. And it drives me absolutely crazy that there is a pretty sizable number of Republicans, and I would say Trump Republicans, that like Vivek, that they've been fooled by it. Okay, did we... No. 10. The previous high is 10. It looks like we tagged it, but we didn't go through. It's really wild to me that we have to see like a new high in order for me to make money on this, because... But that's because ZB is lagging hard, right? We're getting a steepener. ZB's lagging hard. Maybe I really need to just start taking these trades in the 2-year. I don't know what I do about the liquidity being so awful there, but... Now, going back, Octavia said Ben Carson. I don't think that they would pick Ben Carson. Could be wrong, but I don't think that he would pick Ben Carson. I don't think that'd be a very, I think that would be, I don't think that Ben Carson is qualified to be president. I'll put it that way. Well, it's true that he's liked. Everybody likes him. Well, okay. Republicans like him, yes. That's true. But that doesn't mean that he should be vice president. So here's the thing. Oh my gosh. My throat's not doing very well today. I need to drink more water, I guess. Given that Donald Trump is old and all of the other drama that is surely to follow Donald Trump during his presidency, I think it's really important that you have a capable vice president that won't be a complete disaster if something happened and he had to become president. You need a qualified vice president. Like, I don't want to go down through the scenarios because they're all just kind of awful things that I don't want to think about, but given the circumstances, the chances of something happening that would disrupt Donald Trump's term, I think, are very high. Now my eyes are bothering me. Good grief. Well, they stepped up to it, but they did not take a new high, and now a few ticks back. I think some big players lost some money on the treasuries today. Swiss finance minister, high debt is a concern to the world economy. I should have added another contract back here when I had the chance. Oh well. In Xi'an. Let's go over to Zero Hedge and see if there's any new stuff. Maddow melts down over rise of fascism. Joy Reid says Trump Iowa caucus landslide proves white Christians are racist. Oh, some people are very, very upset at how well Donald Trump did in Iowa last night, huh? Goldman beats estimates despite dire FICC investment banking and net interest income results. There's some serious rot below the surface, says Zero Hedge. I'll have to read that later, but I can do that off stream. Shell becomes latest to suspend Red Sea shipments after 2 fresh Houthi attacks on tankers. I wouldn't say that Trump did poorly in Iowa last night. So, when you look at the context, it's good for Trump. So what happened? Well, he was expected to win, but he did a little bit better than expected, basically. So I would say that that's good for him. I think that there's still some things that suggest that has some real vulnerabilities in general election, but we all know that, right? But he's going against Joe Biden, so like, you think that if Donald Trump is the nominee that they'll do debates again? That there'll be a Trump-Biden debate? Okay, are they going to step back up to the plate? I could certainly see where a chartist would look at this and say, this is a range and I want to sell it here. Especially if they're not familiar with the treasuries and their propensity to trend. But it could stop here. The S&P 500, by the way, recovered back to 4,800. We never got word on the news headline either, so I'm think that I have to go with that the action we've seen here this morning in the treasuries was endogenous. Not much else out there in the news. Why does the USA allow unlimited gambling at casinos but not anything above 50-1 leverage with Forex? 50-1 leverage isn't enough for you? Good grief. Good grief, dude. Wait, what's the picture this guy posts? 50-1 leverage is designed to keep poor people as debt slaves. Oh. Is he saying that you shouldn't be allowed to have 50-1 leverage? I don't know what that guy is trying to say. What would be your position size strategy with a 90% win rate? All in. Wikipedia for UFOs launching this year as Americans asked to officially record sightings. That actually would be really cool, because there's a lot of UFO sightings and things that have been debunked and then people bring them up again. And there's no like central place to look at what has been, you know, people are still wondering about and what has kind of already been debunked. Oh my gosh, I wish I hadn't seen that. Now I'm thinking about aliens again. Dude, last night, okay, there's been this whole thing about the, what do they call it? The squid UFO. And on TikTok yesterday, I saw this enhanced image. they basically they took the image and they put it through a bunch of filters and things like that to kind of make it look like something. So very, very kind of questionable way of doing things. But with the way that they did it, it made it look like it was a little alien sitting in a chair, and it was so freaky to me. Oh my gosh. It was like, holy crap, that could actually be like, it seems plausible when you look at it, man. Oh my gosh, it was freaky. Okay, the 30-year got helped there a little bit. Majority of Iowa caucus goers don't believe Biden legitimately won in 2020. You notice I really hate things that are like unknowable, right? Like, I can't prove that there was fraud in the election and that maybe Donald Trump should have won. I see enough suspicious things, particularly in Georgia, where we kind of have some evidence of fraud that was in excess of what the margin of error was in the vote. But certainly there's enough for an investigation, and they wouldn't let us investigate it. So we'll never know. It's kind of a similar, honestly, it was actually a similar thing with the, with Bush versus Cora in Florida, because the whole thing was that, some ballots weren't running through, and like, what were the rules that you were going to put forth to how to adjudicate those, and which places were you going to do it? And there was all of these kind of little questions. That's why the Supreme Court ruled the way that it did. Maybe they made the wrong ruling, but it's complicated and vague enough that you can't really completely conclusively say how it should have gone. Which is why Florida revamped their voting system so that there was no way that sort of issue could come up again. And yet there's still areas of the country that it's like they want those sorts of things to happen. Grizzly, if you want to go around and pump and dump stocks, this is probably the least effective stream for you to do it. For one thing, we're trading futures in here. For another thing, all of my viewers are going to be incredibly suspicious of somebody coming in and just bringing up a random ticker. Like, I would be more likely to take the opposite trade from you, just from you trying to pump it, like, because like, honestly, so this goes back to something I was saying earlier today, is like, what if the market was trying to trade against me? What if they could see what I was doing and were trying to make it as hard for me as possible? How would I change my trading based off that? Well, I would only be getting in and taking a trade when I know what's going to happen, and you'd have to be stupid to trade against me, right? Yeah, we're suspicious first. Come over to NQ now. That was funny that you'd call it like a man. Nah, listen. The equity indexes are for degenerates. You realize? So, like, if you go to a bank and you talk to the traders at a bank, and they ask you, what do you trade? Oh, I trade ES. They're probably going to laugh at you. Not that they're going to laugh at you because you're being stupid, but because it's just so stereotypical, right? Because those traders, they think that ES is a crapshoot. Like they know that there are uses for it, and they may execute, buying a certain number of contracts to hedge somebody's portfolio or something like that, right? But they don't like trading it. They find it very difficult to make money from it because it's so random. They would very much prefer to trade treasuries. You know what? Their best traders, the people that get the most respect there, at least when I was there, were the treasury traders. That's where they put the best traders. So what does that tell you? Yeah. Maturing as a futures trader is phasing out of equity futures. Exactly. like the thing with equity index futures is there's a lot of randomness to it, right? So if you're trying to take advantage of the noise, seems like maybe it would make sense to trade equity index futures, right? But it's all fat-tailed. If that's the game that you want to play, I really think you'd be better off trading individual stocks and just go and find the stock that's trending or doing the thing that you like and trade that, and then take the noise from that. That would be much more likely to have success with that game. Yep. Whereas if you want to do informed trading, I really feel that the best place for you to gain an edge from being an informed trader is in fixed income. So fixed income is also the best place if you want to trade spreads or pricing between different instruments. But that's a completely different thing, right? If you want to manage a portfolio of 100 different instruments and yada, 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 then go and trade go into fixed income at a bank, because that's what they do at the bank. Okay, that time ZB did break out, so they feel a little bit more lined up to maybe tackle those highs, but we'll see. And this is we're now to the most favorable excursion that I've gotten on this trade, which is 5. Aha. Okay, so I am now getting the news that there were new strikes carried out against Houthis today. I think that news was probably what caused the treasuries to spike up an hour ago. You had to wait more than 5 minutes, but you're fine. Well, I'm break even. Am I going to make the $10? Is it going to breach the highs? Unclear. ZB is definitely showing me the auto-correlated order flow to the long side. And I'm not necessarily seeing anything about like a liquidity hole up in here. The ZB needs to get above 05 first before I get too excited about anything. But so I think it's possible, but it's still unclear. And after everything that's happened, I'm super tempted to just scratch it, right? And be like, okay, finally I don't have to deal with the stress of this position anymore. So, you know what's another thing? I got to go back to what I was ranting about. It's really weird to me that there's still people out there trying to pump stocks, right? Like, it definitely was a thing that started with GameStop when they realized, like, hey, if all of the other retail traders are trading this thing and I'm already in it, that can help me. It absolutely can. But, like, don't you think by this point that everybody's kind of figured that game out? So I'm really surprised that there's still people going through all of that effort, you know? Oh, it's Brando? Yeah, you probably need to change your... When you click the little profile icon in the upper right corner, you can select which one. You have multiple ones. Iceberg sell 09.5. Wonder, this one could actually be a big one. Okay, so I got to take note of that because that's the sort of thing that can create a liquidity hole and kind of cause price to go sideways for a while. I'd be more concerned if I was seeing that behavior in ZB, but since that's the one that seems to have the most clear flow. How big is it gonna be? They could be a 10K there, to be honest. And it's kind of luring too. Like it's showing really weak order. It's showing really weak offer when it probably shouldn't be. Just like begging people to hit it. Okay, so they traded it down 2,000 contracts. Then it comes back. See, that was enough to cause it to reset, but it was still 5K, right? Jigsaw, if you click directly on the current bid or ask, does that enter you in via market order? Well, so if I click on the current bid, then I will join the bid. If I click on the current offer, I will join the current offer. But then if I click on the one across from it, that will be a market order. So if I hit the bid column at the best offer, that's a market order. That's one of the things that I love about Jigsaw so much. It's like these contextual, it takes a different trade based on where you click. It's contextual. Man, this eye is having problems today. Yeah, I wonder if you can see if we put the camera like close here. No, I don't know. That's kind of weird. See if that maybe clears whatever it is that's in my eye. Sierra doesn't have that, which is, yeah. Well, it's a Jigsaw thing. I don't know if anybody has it. There are some that kind of come close, but nothing that's purely contextual like that. ZB kind of fallen back there. Probably because the Japanese yen fell a little bit. Well, when you got an iceberg like that, okay, I didn't like that. When you get an iceberg like that and they fail it, that's usually not a good sign. I put a bid there to take a -5 and they immediately filled it. So that's probably not a good sign. But I don't like, like I kind of got a liquidity hole kind of signal, kind of got the, this is the pausing point. It might sit here for a little while. Then it starts dropping a little bit. The spread's working against me. All of these other things. Yeah. So if this continues and breaches the highs before we go today, I'll be very disappointed. So now I'm kind of wondering, maybe we can think around, now that I don't have that order on, I'm going to try messing around a little bit here with the 2-year. I kind of wonder if I put an order at 4,109 if they would front run me. But I'm kind of scared to put a lot there. So here's an interesting comment by Joseph Wang. This is why I think stocks will crash up. In my opinion, if we get into a recession, then the government will just spend even more. Yeah, Bob Elliott, it's pretty incredible to see COVID-like period deficits. Sorry, it's pretty incredible to see COVID period-like deficits being run at a time when unemployment is at secular lows and the economy is growing above potential. In the short term, this helps delay any recession incoming. Long term, it will make managing an eventual recession difficult. Yeah. You said it. So I'm going to clear things here. I'm still kind of seeing issues in ZB holding things back. So I'm most concerned about that one because that's where the order flows have been the most consistent. What was the alien discussion a few minutes ago? Oh, that was just... So there is a documentary on TMZ where they show this new video. Somebody's like recording it. They're like seeing it in a government facility and they're like covertly recording it or something, I think. And in the video, you can see what looks like a jellyfish, right? You've seen the jellyfish alien? All I was saying was that I saw a video enhancement of it on TikTok yesterday, where with their enhancement, it looks like a little alien sitting on top of a craft. And it was freaky AF. So I'm still seeing this spreading, but oh. So I'm definitely seeing where it's like, yes, I would want to take it in the 2-year. Okay. So when I put a lot out there, some other orders showed up. See that 11? Yeah, it was the 11. And then they kind of showed up even after I was gone. So now they're trying to squeeze it, like in the hopes that I... Japanese yen is like it did a move down and recovering really well. So there's some weirdness going on over there. You don't like talking about the aliens? I tell you what, it's another one of those things. I always feel like so. Like, I know when I'm saying this that I sound really elitist and out of touch and everything, but like when I look at the UFO community, it's a very similar to things that I feel in politics, where it's like it's something that's really, really interesting to me, but most of the people in this community are idiots that will believe anything. You know? So I got my Giorgio Tassalicus fix last night. Isn't he the guy that was saying like they don't like him, right? I think the UFO subreddit doesn't like him. They think that he's like a disinformation agent or something like that. Well, I'm not saying that it's not going to break out, but it is not coming up there like you would normally see it during a breakout. That last tick up was pretty good. Sure does look like it could squeeze. And Nessie. Yeah, well, and Bigfoot for that matter, right? So it's just like there probably is some scientific investigation that could be done there, but for some reason, the type of person that tends to be attracted to it is dumb. He promotes the pseudoscientific ancient astronauts hypothesis. Oh, okay, yeah. There you go. So we're still only to +5. I'm feeling a little bit better about this, though. Okay. Okay, now they're starting to do some stuff like that. There's going to be a stop run. Maybe I shouldn't have bailed on that one. I don't know, guys. So sometimes these songs will have kind of weird audio, I don't know what you would call them, Easter eggs in them or something, and I thought I was hearing that, but I think I was actually hearing my voice screaming. Right as it starts to get a little exciting, they seem to back off again. Can you consider that a stop run? It is a daily high. So there's this area above us now, 14. That's exactly what I saw in the DOM. Sellers seem to be protecting those highs today. Well, it feels to me like sellers have been protecting the whole day, right? Like the downside that we saw first was kind of a little inexplicable, and then when we did go long, it was like really there was a couple of slips and really fast and seeming like news, but then not actually going. It kind of suggests to me somebody that's was trying to hold on to a position that they probably shouldn't have been. I don't know if I would say price action has been pretty muted today. Like it hasn't outright trended, but there's been a lot of activity and it's moved a lot. Like, so look at the volume profile. It's a very disorganized volume profile, right? It's a very disorganized, so it is unusual action, we'll say. And you'll get these things where like, so like just there, like what, 2 ticks down out of nowhere. That really feels to me like market makers pulling out of the way and big guys coming in and really trying to screw with it. And when that happens, usually the way it goes is it does eventually go my way, but long after I've given up on it, right? You know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Reddit about this. Biden announced his plan to raise student loans under 12K. Maybe this is the thing that makes it a big issue again and gets everybody bent out of shape. Yeah, Reddit thinks that it's just the last second thing to get votes. I should also say there's a lot of level 2 activity on the DOM right now. Seeing a lot of level 2 activity. The Japanese yen slowly moving up. In Japanese yen, what you get what looks like an ascending triangle. Same with ZB. Maybe we could eventually, maybe ZB could make new highs, but I guess we'll see. So another thing that I'm kind of wondering, we are going to get Waller a little bit later. at the top of the hour. We're going to get Waller at the top of the hour. Which is probably not good because that's probably going to be hawkish. I'm wondering if part of the reason why we're seeing the action that we are is because the 10 years at 4% and that they've been just kind of rotating around 4%. Well, starting to think about, we got like 5 minutes left. If there's anything else to cover. I am kind of thinking about Fed's Waller and the auctions and everything. The auctions, as of late, have kind of been a positive thing, so. Big iceberg there on the bid at 09.5. Level 2 activity is slowed a little bit when that iceberg showed up. Ticks up. Ooh, 2 ticks. And are they going to clear them at 11 too easily? Gonna pause. Falls back into the hole. Very odd. Is it odd? I don't know. It's kind of slippery out there. It's a little slippery out there in the treasuries today. Okay. I guess the thing is he's still got ZB kind of like dragging its feet. If the initial balance holds, we should pull back to VWAP, you think? 06.5? I don't know. What I'm seeing right now is that they just continue to buy, very consistently buy in ZB, even though it seems like it's dragging its feet. Like there is a very clear imbalance between buys and sells, market buys and market sells in ZB that continues to be long, and consolidating range up into the highs. So that's basically an ascending triangle. And a couple of things today that I think suggest lower rates, deflation and lower rates from the fundamental standpoint, but central banks still speaking kind of hawkishly. And today, for the first time in several weeks, the market actually paying heed to what the central bankers are saying. Waller coming up, auction coming, so something that might be slightly biased towards hawkishness, Waller, and something that might be slightly biased towards bullishness, the 3 and 6 month bill auctions. So it's probably acting the way that it is because we've got multiple players going multiple ways for many different reasons. I do think after all is said and done, though, that they probably will move to the upside. It's just it might be a little bit constrained and it might take a really, really long time. Like, it's going to do it after I'm done here and basically going to have to scratch this one. So, what you going to do? I think I can wait until the top of the hour. I got excited when it moved up 2 ticks, but then it didn't do anything. It came right back. I'm like, And now they're going to test the other side. Trying to recover 09.5 and not making it is not particularly encouraging. These sink or swim, and I was wondering if you could start trading with what 1K count when the futures are so high. Okay, so first of all, I wouldn't use this Thinkorswim. I'd use a futures specific broker. But basically, the way that it works is there is a initial margin required for you to enter into a position. Now, with us as retail traders, they give you a day margin. So you can have that position as long as you match the day margin, and you don't have to have the full initial margin. So like over here in the treasury, $500. For every $500, you can buy 1 treasury future. That's the margin, right? And then if the balance in your account goes below 500, then they'll liquidate you, right? So you want to have something like $1,000 in your account, trade 1 contract, that's $500 in margin, and then you could lose $500, and then they would kick you out. Right? Why a future specific broker? Well, Thinkorswim doesn't give you very good margins or commissions or service, frankly. If you want to trade futures, I think it's best to just trade futures. Get a platform that's really nice, like what I've got up here. Good commissions, all that sort of thing. I mean, you can do it on Thinkorswim. I'm sure that you can probably trade micro treasuries or on Thinkorswim, but well, this whole day has just been really sad for me. It was not like damage done, but like just frustrating. Didn't really play out. Kind of odd. Now they're coming back down to this 08. Maybe they go to the VWAP. I don't know. Or like 07 area. I think would make a lot of sense. And what it does from there, who knows? Kind of think that if you're able to hold it to the auction, that it probably will go higher, but we'll see. See you guys tomorrow.